Welcome to our lesson on the holiday of Shavuot. Um, we're going to learn about what are the names of Shavuot, what Shavuot is all about, but also we're going to learn about what are the secrets behind the holiday of Shavuot, what's the meaning of basically doing the whole Tikkun Shavuot, which is a studying of Torah all night, and in the case of Kabbalists, we study uh, this is zohar, and we study also uh, Torah Hasod, basically Kabbalah. Um, First, let's talk about Shavuot, the name Shavuot. So Shavuot means weeks in English. Uh, Shavuot comes, it's actually the plural for week, which is Shavua, and also is related to the word Sheva, which means seven. And because it's related to seven, it means 7 days of the week, but also is related to the counting of the Omer, which is 7 weeks in which we're counting 7 days for seven weeks, which is 7 times 7 is 49. And during the counting of the Omer, what we do is on the first 7 days, we are concentrating on the vessels of Chesed, loving kindness. On the second week, we concentrate on the vessels of Geburah. On the third week, we concentrate on the vessels of Tifaret. On the fourth week, then we concentrate on the vessels of Nesach. The fifth week, we concentrate on the vessels of Hod. On the sixth week, we concentrate on Yesod. And then the last week, which is the seventh week, those 7 days, we concentrate on the vessels of Malchut. So when we count the 49 days of the Omer, we start basically counting from the vessels of Chesed in Chesed. And the last day, which is day 49, we finish with Malchut in Malchut. These are basically 49 gates that we have to go through, and these 49 gates are actually a preparation of our vessel. So, what do we do during these 49 days? We are supposed to transform Homer, which is matter, and into Omer, which is the Omer that we count, the counting of the Omer, which is related with the agricultural aspect of it, and Homer with Het, which means matter in English, is transformed to Omer, which is the Omer that we count, as I mentioned, and the Omer that we count is with an Ayin. Then from that Omer that we're counting, we need to transform it into Omer with Aleph, which means word. So there's a transformation during these weeks that we do from Homer to Omer to Amar. So what we do is creating a vessel to receive the Torah on the day of Shavuot. But there's an aspect that is very important in Shavuot, and it's the aspect of what the Kabbalists call the night of the bride, which we're going to touch base later. First, let's talk about the holiday of Shavuot according to the writings of the Torah. So, Shavuot is known by 5 names. One of those names is Matan Torah. Matan Torah means the receiving of the Torah. It's also known by the name of Shavuot, weeks, and that's found on Exodus 34, verse 22. It's also known as Yom HaBikurim, which is the first fruits, and that's on Numbers 28, verse 26, and as Hag Hakatzir, which is the harvest festival, and that's in Deuteronomy 16, verse 10. And the other name that is known, and this is according to rabbinical literature, is ateret, meaning stopping or prohibition, to work on that day. So the important thing that happened on that day Shavuot is the receiving of the Torah by the Bnei Israel when they were in Bamidbar Sinai, and the desert of Sinai. And that day, when they were going to receive the Torah, in order to be ready to receive the Torah, they needed to be like one. They needed to be like one man, one soul, in order to receive it. And they said very important words, which is Naaseh Venishma, Venishma, which is on Exodus 24 verse 7, and is we will do and then we will hear. And what that implies is actually that they were working from the vessels of receptions, which are the lower vessels, in order to attain vessels that are more subtle, more vessels of bestowal. And what we need to understand is the following. What happened that day was the following. They came, as if you follow the story, they came from a place called Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim is Egypt. Also means a place where you are basically a slave of matter, which is a homer. You're a slave of anything that is physical. And because of an awakening from above, which is what Pesach is, an awakening from above, everything is done by the Creator. The Creator is taking these people out of Mitzrayim, Egypt. By that awakening from above, they go through 49 days, which is for the Kabbalists is 49 works of internal work or correction, in order to receive the Torah, which is Shavuot. And during those 49 days, which is the counting of the Omer and also the symbolism of them walking for 49 days in the desert until they reach Har Sinai, is what we call an awakening from below. An awakening from below is God did an awakening on us. He pushed us to do something, and now we are wanting to do something for the Creator. We're sending this prayer, this desire, in order to receive something from the Creator. And that's the work that we do in the Omer. Then when we count 49 days, we receive the 50th gate, which is called the gate of Bina. And what happened on this is awakening from above, awakening from below. As the Kabbalists tell us that we're raising man. Man is the Mainuch Bin. These are the feminine waters. Is a prayer in a proper way, not in a religious way, but in the spiritual way. This raising our desire in order to receive from the Creator, and also to give, in order to give pleasure to the Creator. And we do this when we unite as one, when we become one. That's why the words Naaseh Venishma. And what happened is the following: the prayer is answered, and that's what the Kabbalah is called. The mad, which is the mad means the male waters, coming down. So there's a union that day between the feminine and the masculine waters, and there's an union of opposites. And we're gonna concentrate this lesson on that union of opposites, because the Zohar tells us a very interesting lesson about Shavuot that we cannot miss. So let's talk first about the customs. What do we do that night? So that night it's customary that we study all night. We study Torah all night. If you are a Kabbalist, you study Torah and Kabbalah, and you go to the mikveh to clean yourself from all this negative energy that you have at the klipot, in the morning, because symbolically, when the sun rises, there's gonna be kind of like a wedding between the groom and the bride. And what we do with this learning all night is called Tikkun Shavuot, and it was put in place by Solomon Arkabetz and the Kabbalists that were with him in the 16th century in the city of Salonika. And that day also we put flowers in our houses. We put flowers in the synagogue. We decorate, according to, basically, we're celebrating harvest, and also the summer is here in its full um, force. There's a tradition to eat dairy, so they eat dairy food. The Ashkenaz, they eat basically cheese plintes. They also eat cheesecake. The Sephardis, which is a tradition I'm from, we eat cheesy dumplings. But also, if you are like from a Moroccan Sephardi descent, we do something called pan de siete cielos. Pan de siete cielos means bread of seven heavens. And the seven heavens, if you are following the story from the Exodus until now, is about the 7 weeks that we just went through, and that's why it's called seven heavens. And that day also we study the book of Ruth. In the morning service we read it, and the whole point is just as Ruth entered the covenant without being forced into, she did it out of love. We're celebrating that she did that, and she was basically a Gentile. And the Bnei Israel, they did the same thing out of love, even though we know, that there were some issues in the end, where the mixed multitude, which is the egoistic desires within that are mixed with the altruistic desires. So, what happens that night before we do the morning service, right? That night, the spiritual gates are open. The light, Yashar, is there for us to use it, not egoistically, but to use it for our advantage. Meaning, we need to take advantage of that night in the sense that we need to receive that light. So, this is what happened. That night, Shavuot, has a great light in the sense that Shavuot is the giving of the Torah. And the Torah, the written Torah, and also the oral Torah, they talk about all the other holidays. So what you need to think is that in Shavuot, you also have a little bit of the light of all the other holidays. So that's why Shavuot is so important, because you have a little bit of all the other holidays, okay? So that's a very powerful thing to know, that we can have a little bit of the light of each of the holidays that we celebrate on the night of Shavuot as well. One thing that we need to understand is that on this night, it is said that we have the chance to achieve some of the level of a spiritual level that Adam Harishon had. Adam Harishon is the Adam in the Genesis, and it is said that he used to see from one end of the world to the other end of the world. So at that night, we can have a glimpse of what Adam Harishon's level of knowledge was, of level, I would say, of consciousness. So we get some Adam Harishon's consciousness at night. Also, it's a good day for the expansion of consciousness because of that, because we can tap into this collective consciousness that all human beings have, called Adam Harishon. Okay? There's something important on that night, and it's a work that as Kabbalists we're supposed to do, and it's on that night we need to try to achieve or attain this expansion of consciousness by using a force that is putting ourselves in order to procreate and to basically keep the species alive. And that's the human libido. So imagine that energy, which is sexual energy in human beings. Imagine that energy transform into something else. That's what the Kabbalists do at that night. They raise that energy from a lower Sephirah, which is the Sephirah Yesod, into the Sephirah Tiferet, which is in our heart, symbolically our heart, right? We try to raise that energy to a level in which we can actually make a connection, make use that desire that we have for procreation, for keeping the species alive, but this time is for creating something in the spiritual realm. And a lot of people, when they hear this, they go like, "What are you guys talking about?" You know, and it is very important. The Kabbalists talk about that. The Zohar talks about it as well, and sometimes very explicit in the explanation. So that's something that we need to do, is basically channel that energy into wanting to connect to a higher realm. In this case, we need to connect with the Shekhinah. Through the Shekhinah, we connect to Serampin, which Serampin is it's basically the husband, and the Shekhinah is the bride, which we're gonna talk about it in a moment. Um, so in the morning of Shavuot, Israel is similar to a bride, and the Creator is similar to a groom. So when we study all night, what we're doing is we're basically practicing something called putting adornments on the bride, meaning preparing the bride for the marriage in the morning. So that's what we do all night. So all night we talk about the secrets of the Torah, and we study the Torah. And as we study, we also give gifts. And the gifts that we give, it's gifts of anniversary, the gifts of the anniversary of receiving the Torah. Because what's happening is the following, where all this bridegroom thing comes from, is that when Israel, the Bnei Israel, received the Torah at Sinai, was basically a marriage. Bnei Israel were the bride, God was the groom, and the Torah that was given was the ketuvah, the marriage contract. So that's what we're trying to symbolize with the actions and symbolism that we have in this holiday, to make sure that we ourselves are participating on that, even though that was something that happened many years ago. The darkness of that night, it's basically not dark anymore when we participate on this study. We know that all the night is going to be dark because the earth turns, but we're talking about spiritual darkness in here, where the light of the Creator doesn't come in. So what we do is we bring light on that night down to earth, down to the realm of the Malchut. Okay? And we read the Ten Commandments, and as a Kabbalist, you read the Ten Commandments, of course, in the basically in with the idea of the 10 Sefirot and all that. From the union that is gonna happen in the morning between the bride and the groom, what's gonna happen? The consummation of the marriage and everything is gonna bring a result, a baby, if you will, and it's a prophetic awareness. Repeat again, prophetic awareness. And it's very important to know this because it's part of basically the future of humanity, in which each person basically will reach that level of a prophet, basically, a level of prophecy. And that awareness is expansion of consciousness that comes from our collective soul, Adam Harishon. In the Zohar, volume 1, page 8a. And if you're reading, like I will read soon, from the Baal HaSulam Zohar, Baal HaSulam commentary on the Zohar, on the prologue, it's going to be in the prologue, paragraph 125. What the Kabbalists do, they take this portion of the Zohar, and they study a section called the Night of the Bride. And that section talks about what is the meaning behind the study of Shavuot, and the study at night in the day of Shavuot, and what Shavuot is all about. And I'm gonna read a little bit of what is really happening according to the Zohar. So the chuppah, remember, this is a wedding. So the chuppah is gonna be explained by the Zohar, and before that, I'm gonna put it into context so it will make more sense. So it says, Rabbi Shimon was sitting and studying the Torah on the night when the bride, Malchut, unites with her husband, Serampin, and all the friends present in the bridal chamber at that night, the eve of the holiday of Shavuot, which is also known as Pentecost in other traditions, must stand together with the bridegroom under the chuppah, or wedding canopy, and be with him this whole night, and rejoice with him in the corrections of the bride. Meaning studying the Torah, the prophets, the Holy Scripture, and finally the wisdom, for these corrections are the bride's adornments. And the bride receives corrections, adorns herself with them, and rejoices with them all of that night. And on the next day, on the holy day of Shavuot, she only comes to the chuppah together with them. And her friends who study the Torah all night long are called the sons of the chuppah. And as she approaches the chuppah, the Creator asks about them, blesses and adorns them with the bride's adornments. Happy are those who merit this. So, what is actually happening here? What's basically the symbolism of studying all night, preparing the bride for the wedding? So this is the symbolism. The Zohar basically said the chuppah is what is called the Or Choser. Or Choser is the returning light. Receive in on the Ma'in Nuchbin, which is the feminine waters that were raised by the tzaddikim, by the righteous people of the world, and all this is actually a collection of those works, of those prayers, corrections, tikkunim, raising of man, raising of the feminine waters that was done by all the tzaddikim of all these righteous people during the 6,000 years of correction of the whole world, right? So they all become one. They are become one in this Or Choser, this returning light. And if you've been studying on the basics, basically the beginners Kabbalah, you're gonna see there's a Or Yashar. Or Yashar hits the Masach, which is the screen. The screen lets some light get in, which is your pinimid, the internal, inner light. And there's light that goes out. That's the Or Choser. Those are the vessels of bestowal that we create by receiving in order to please the Creator. Okay, so basically what it's saying, the chuppah represents the Torah of this returning light, of this Or Choser. And this Or Choser is one being of light, if you want to have some symbols in there that you can understand. But that one being is the collection of all the Or Choser of every tzaddikim that have existed in the whole world for the 6,000 years of the corrections that we need to do before the 7th millennium. All right. In this state, the righteous are called the sons of the chuppah, because all of them become part of this chuppah by extending the Ma'anuch being and raising them to the screen, the Masach of Malchut, where this returning light, the Or Hoser, is produced. At the end of correction, the Creator is called Hatan, which is bridegroom, and he, the Chit Arga, descends from his degree to his bride and enters the chuppah. That means, that there's an answer. Remember, feminine water is masculine water, as we mentioned before. At this time, or in this state, the heavens, and you need to keep in mind when we talk about the heavens is always Zeramping, and the earth is always Malchut. The heavens say this is a great union of the future. As the Talmud said, the wife speaks to her husband. That's in Berachot 3:1. The word speaks, mesaperet, implies a sivug, a coupling, and is derived from sapir, which is sapphire, the name of the Shekhinah, as it is said in the Torah, and under his feet like a pavement of sapphire. That's on Shemot 24, verse 10. The luminescence of the sapphire is the Or Hoser, ascending from below upward. Luminescence is the returning light, the Or Hoser, and it becomes because the luminescence is basically like Or Yashar, the direct light, and in this case, this light that is Or Hoser, which is the light that is reflected back, has the same luminescence in that sense. And a great sivug, a great couplings, gathers all these returning light, all these Or Hoser, that from all the sivugim, all the couplings made during 6,000 years, and the Or Yashar, which is the direct light, will shine in it, and it is said from one end to another end. And something that happened when this is done by the Tzadikim, the Sivugim and everything, is that this implies the end of correction, in which, if you study with us on the intermediate lessons, you will see that we talk about Parsufins. I'm going to talk about Adam Katmon, Parsufin Ab, Sag, Ma, and Bon. And they actually belong to the Parsufin Keter, Chokma, Bina, Serampin, and Malchut. And basically what we're doing is raising Malchut to Serampin, raising Serampin to Bina, and raising Bina to Chokma. But this ascension continues to the point that we raise Malchut all the way to Bina and Serampin all the way to Chokma. So it's kind of like an equivalence of form that we achieve by doing that. And that's the whole basically secret behind Shavuot, is that we are receiving this light from the Creator. We're working that night in order to prepare ourselves for this union in which a sivug is going to happen, in which all our prayers should become one. And just like the Bnei Israel said, Venaseh Venishma, we will do, and we were here. We will do the same thing. We will do something, and then we will hear. There's different aspects here of or levels of spirituality. Now let's touch base on something that is very interesting, that if you want to practice it during the night of Shavuot, or even during the morning of Shavuot, it's something good in order for us to connect to the light and help us connect, I would say better, to calm us down, in order for us to have some kind of connection with what we are learning, connection with what the holiday is all about, connection with what other people are doing together with us, and all that. And we're talking about a meditation. And I'm not gonna do the meditation here. I'm just gonna give you the instructions of how to do the meditation. Otherwise, this video will last 2 hours. But these are the instructions. The first thing you need to do is the following. You need to go to Exodus 24, verse 7. And there you're gonna find these words. Kol asher davar Adonai na'aseh v'nishma. Everything that the Lord, the Yohevah tells us, we will do and we will hear. And when you take the first letter of each of those Hebrew words, you're gonna have a kaf, an aleph, a dalet, a yod, a nun, and a vav. That's gonna be basically what we call in Kabbalah a name of God, in which you're gonna meditate. And you're gonna try to remember those letters when you close your eyes. So if you wanna practice this before Shavuot, it will be very good, because in that way it will be less effort. And once you have these letters in your mind, don't forget the concept behind this, which is Kol Asher Divar Adonai Na'aseh V'nishma. Everything that the Creator, Yohevah, tell us we will do and we will hear. Okay? So remember this letter. Letter Kaf, Aleph, Dalet, Yod, Nun, and Vav. And this is what you're gonna do. In the beginning, make sure you are in a place where you're quiet, where nobody will interrupt you. And you're gonna breathe in 7 times through your nose. And you're gonna let the air out through your mouth. And as you breathe in, visualize the first 2 letters of the name Yohevah. So you're gonna visualize a Yod He, like is Yohe, and then when you breathe out through your mouth is Vav He. Make sure when you breathe in, you stop for like 3 seconds, and then you let out, stop like 3 seconds, and let it in. Make sure you do 7 deep breaths. Then after that, you are going to concentrate on what we mentioned before, the libido, which is a sexual energy in a human being, and try to use this letter, the Kaf, Aleph, Dalet, Yod, Nun, Vav, to elevate that energy to a higher level, from Yesod to Tifaret. Because remember, it's through Yesod that the union of Tifaret and Malchut happen. But if you elevate Yesod to Tifaret, you elevate Malchut as well. So, and then Tifaret is raised to the level of Binah, which is something that we talk about, the work of Shavuot, what it is all about, right? It's all the way to raise Malchut all the way to Binah. So, okay, so you start meditating on that, on concentrating that energy into your heart and wanting that union of love and connection with the Creator. At this moment, imagine yourself like you are part of this whole collective soul of Israel called the Shekhinah, and ready to unite when she's ready to unite with her husband, okay, the Creator. While you're there, once you find yourself relaxed for a while, you can make this meditation 20 minutes, half hour, it's up to you how much time you want to spend on it. I suggest 30 minutes is enough. That you make a petition, any petition, and and wait for an answer. And you gotta keep this petition to yourself and the answer to yourself. This is yours. This is yours only. Let's just let's say that this petition is gonna be something that has to do with spirituality. So even though that day the gates are open, the light is there for us. Forget about material things, ask for spiritual things, and wait for an answer, okay? Then, after you receive the answer, meditate on the answer. Meditate what the answer actually means in your life, how it may affect your life in a positive way. Then, when you're ready, you're gonna do the same 7 breaths that we did in the beginning. Breathing in deep and visualizing the first 2 letters of the Yod-He, the Yod-He, and then breathing out, visualizing the letters Vav and He for 7 times. When you finish, start breathing normal, and when you're ready, you will open your eyes. And this meditation will help you connect with the energy of Shavuot. It will help you connect with something that you will see that even though it's yours personal, your personal experience, your personal meditation, it will have something to do with the whole, with all humanity. And I hope it's something good, and like I said, it's yours. You don't have to share it. So practice that meditation. So going back to Shavuot, that day, like I said, as a closing statement, is a day that we celebrate a marriage of the Bnei Israel with the Creator when they receive the ketubah, the Torah. One interesting fact about Sinai is that Sinai actually means hatred. So it's the mount of hatred. So these basically Hupad that they were, Mount Sinai, it was a mountain of hatred. So they needed to elevate themselves above their hatred and start uniting as one man, one heart. And that's what we need to do in this day of Shavuot as well. That's our internal work, to work together, to act together as one man and one soul. And like they said, Kol Asher Dabar Adonai Naseh V'Nishma. Everything that the Creator says, we will do, and we will hear. So I hope this lesson's been helpful to you to understand the secrets behind the holiday of Shavuot. I encourage you that day you take time to study the Torah and also to study that section of the Zohar, Zohar Volume 1, page 8a, or if you are studying from the Zohar with the Baal HaSulam commentary, prologue, paragraph 125. And when I mentioned, a lot of people, not a lot of people, or a few people has asked me through the email of the website, when you say, Baal HaSulam commentary, what book is that? That's the same Zohar that the Kabbalah Center sells. All these volumes that they sell, they have the Sulam commentary on them. So I suggest if you want to spend some money on that, it's a good inversion, because there you're going to have some of the commentary, not all the commentaries, because the deep commentaries, really deep commentaries are not going to be there. For example, the section I read is not on that Zohar. But it is important that you get some time that night and read that section of the Night of the Bride and meditate on it and think what it means for us as human beings. What is the goal at the end? The goal is to unite, to become one, to make our desires one, or prayers and basically all these requests that we have for the Creator be one, and for spirituality only. That's the goal of Shavuot. This is all I have for now. I hope you found this video very instructive, And like always, visit us on our YouTube channel, subscribe, um, and also visit us on the website www.receivingtheupperlight.com. Thank you and shalom.